Amen. I'd like to begin, first of all, by thanking the Temple of Divine Understanding for allowing me this opportunity to present this lecture from the Temple of Yahweh, Culture, and Science. I'll give the another minute. I'd like to begin by saying, welcome to the past. Today I'm going to share an essay with you that I wrote based on one paragraph from the Bahami Gospel. Imam Habib Bihar and High Priest Pete Tyrod used to always tell me that you could take one sentence or one thing from the Bahami Gospel and write a set of encyclopedias. And all my studies have proven that to be correct. Let me begin by briefly defining Bahami Gospel, since that's what I'm going to be teaching out of the Bahami Gospel. Okay? We all know that Paul Nathaniel Johnson was the Bahami.
I'm doing it.
Okay? He brought to us a new, holy Negro culture founded on the background of our ancestors' worship. Now we know who the Bahami is, but what do we mean by gospel? Gospel simply means the word of a particular person or a group of people that is deemed totally true. The Webster Dictionary defines it as something accepted or promoted as infallible truth, or as a guiding principle or doctrine. So, the Bahami Gospel simply means that infallible truth or guiding principles of the Bahami, Paul Nathaniel Johnson. I wholeheartedly believe in the teaching of the Bahami Rasul. Therefore, if the Bahami Rasul said it, to me, it's gospel. The key for each of us to understand is that whether it is one sentence, one paragraph, one chapter, 9 chapters, or 32 chapters, if the Rasul said it, it's gospel. Another thing for us to understand is that what we must do is understand it as much as we possibly can and teach it as best we can. And remember, Bahami is not a superficial religion. So, the gospel that I will teach today happens to be from chapter 2, paragraph 8, wherein it says, the gods were made to serve man, not man serve God. This is a fact quite unknown to the average Muslim, Jew, or Christian. Man must free himself from the restraints of negative opinion and produce positive ideas about history, religion, society, and culture, of space, dimension, geography, mathematics, time, and eternity, in order to strengthen himself in pride, honor, self-respect. The origin of names is of vital importance to the education of the mind. Bahami Ra. When we talk in terms of who the gods are, that's another set of disciples. We're not going to talk about that today. So we're going to start where man must free himself from restraint. And we're going to start with restraint. I have outlined a few sections that we're going to deal with. We're going to first deal with some terms that we need to know restraints, negative, and opinions. And then we're going to deal with the things that he said that we must restrain from and produce positive ideas from. And then we're going to get into, well, as we go, we're going to understand how pride, honor, and self-respect come into play. Restraints. There are several types of restraints. And I'm going to discuss just two of those restraints. There are the mental restraint and the physical restraint. But to understand the mental restraint, okay, we're going to talk about the physical restraint. That'll give us a good idea of what the mental restraints are. Okay? The practice of rendering people helpless or keeping them in captivity by means such as handcuffs, ropes, straps, etc. So an opinion that has mental restraint would be an opinion that holds people back or that keeps people in captivity by means of something intangible such as miseducation. That would be a restraint. Restraint is a measure or condition. This is the dictionary. And then I add miseducation that keeps someone or something under control or within limits. A control over the expression of one's emotions, which in turn is a loss of abridgment or freedom. This influence inhibits or restrains or limits a person's ability to make a complete, thoughtful analysis, because the thought is restrained. Muhammad Rasul teaches us that negative opinion causes restraint. Negative is the opposing term to positive. Okay? So we dealt with negative. Opinion. An opinion is a belief or judgment that rests on grounds insufficient to produce complete certainty. So really, what it all boils down to is, again, you don't look down to it. But one thing about opinions, there might, everybody got it. It's a personal view, attitude, or praise, a formal expression of a personal judgment. Wait, that particular person is. Key terms here are attitude and expression of personal judgment. So, a negative opinion is a personal view or attitude or judgment that is bad, or more importantly, harmful, it's corrupt, debased, and will not hold up under scrutiny. It is a personal belief that is not positive, which means that the results will not produce constructive results. They keep you from developing or growing. All things physical. One word I didn't put up there was idea. You can understand that a little bit. I just want to make a brief statement about that. All things physical begin with a thought. Anybody disagree with that? An idea is a thought. A positive idea will produce positive results. Okay, let's look at negative opinion about first one in blue. History. Here's the negative opinion of your history. Your history is subservient to the history of other people. As a matter of fact, to me, to say that the last 400 years is history is a negative opinion. It's especially when you compare the last 400 years with 34,000 years of our glorious past, which goes back a minimum, as I said, 34,000 years. You know, that's less than 1% of a conservative 34,000 years. Therefore, I consider, and now my people always tell me, the last 400 years is not history, a current event. These are current events. A positive idea or thought or truth would be that your history is a glorious one. That your ancestors gave birth to civilization. Two made music, evolved, rose, and earth. And two made the music, while they like the earth. Everything they probably did was something. So we move down to religion. A negative opinion or personal view about religion, there are a lot of them, and for those of you who were here for the summer, for the equinox, spring equinox, I talked about a negative opinion about religion when I talk in terms of Easter. But this time I'm going to talk in terms of the fact that they say that Christmas is the celebration of the birth of a man named Jesus, and that man was God in the person, and that he and he alone was the Savior of the world. Now, this right here might move just a little bit, because I don't have a problem with him being God in the person, and nor do I have a problem with him saving the world. I wish he was true. What I do have an issue with is that why is this story so miraculously similar to stories that were told thousands and thousands of years before? That's why I have a problem with that. Why are the names and faces so dissimilar to the names and faces that were originally made up of? And tell me, what is this story really all about? Well, God has never sent the prophet to the world. And he's not in the last 6,000 years. And the fact is that the one that they named and gave their image is beneficial for their motive, but is a negative opinion of God for you. Why? Why? Because it does not produce pride, honor, self-respect. It puts the authority of your spirituality in the hands and control of somebody else. They become the masters, and they determine your fate. Now, what does this ideal or opinion called, notice I said ideal or opinion called Jesus come from anyway? Who is Jesus and who is Mary? And what is it that they represent? They say that Jesus was the Jew. And we know that Jewish people are supposedly Hebrews. Anyway, how do you get the name Jesus, Joseph, Jacob from Hebrew? When the truth is that the letter J is even in the Hebrew alphabet. So let's get to the point. Jesus was a son, and Mary was a set. A son is the sun. A set is the moon. And you go again, another set of disciples. Man must free himself from restraints and make opinions and produce positive ideas about history, religion, and now we come to society. One negative opinion about society is that the great society that ever existed was ancient or classical Greece. That's why you got Greek organizations on your at the campuses of your institutions of higher learning. A positive idea is that ancient Kemites built the pyramids, plotted the stars, gave the world medicine, and built a society that was upright thousands of years before the Greeks were ever still alive. As a matter of fact, the word Kim means upright. Now, culture. Moving on down the line. A negative opinion about culture is that you don't have one. Pretty negative with it. Or that it can be confined. Your culture can be confined in a box. Or that what you see as culture is what the dominant society has created. Brothers and sisters shaking their knees and with their hands down to their knees, women stripped down their naked, degrading languages to its core. Or another negative opinion is that Jesus is your God. James, John, Luke, and Paul are your saints. And you may ask, oh, why is that negative? Right. Well, I ask you this. What they do? And what made them worthy of being considered saints? And how many of us were sitting at the table when they decided to make them saints? A positive idea about culture is that we have our own name for God, our own angels, and saints, and saviors. We were the first farmers, traders, and engineers. We observed and documented the law and mastered the science of government and power. And by the grace of Allah, and Amin Ra, and with the teachings of the Muhammad Rasul, we will revamp our culture. Let's move on to space. We have a lot to say. Maybe I've said a little bit of something to say here about space. But we're going to get right to the point. We're not going to lollygag around here. Copernicus, Nicholas Copernicus, was born in 1473 and died around 1543 AD. He came up with this theory that they say he came up with this theory that the Earth orbited the sun. And he laid the groundwork for some more people to come behind him and support him, like Galileo, and they all supported his system of planetary movement via his observation. Our ancestors plotted the entire solar system and named all the planets. And if you've ever seen a copy of the calendar that I produced about 5 or 6 years ago, we gave a great effort to try to identify the names that our ancestors gave to the planets. This is what the calendar looks like. I hope I can get enough assistance during the near future to reproduce that calendar again, because it has a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in it. A lot of stuff that's going to take us to the next level. Our ancestors did this, what you're looking at, a minimum of 26,000 years ago. How do you know that? You come up with all these, how do you know? Well, I'm going to tell you how I know. There are approximately 2,160 years in an age. And as you can see on that calendar, our ancestors plotted all 12 of them. If you multiply this, you're going to get over 24,000 years. Just the 2 and the 12 is 34, so you just throw the change on there, you'll get there. And of course, you couldn't just all of a sudden one day be wise and then plot the solar system. You had to work your way up to it. Okay? So, that is the calendar from the ceiling of the temple of Hathor. Now, they debate, and they want to dispute as to how old it is, but as I've presented to you, someone will tell you that it is over 10,000 years, which only makes sense. But someone wants to say that it's about 2,000 years. But either way you look at it, it's before It's a minimum of 1,500 years before Copernicus and Galileo. Okay? Let's go to dimensions. We're getting there, y'all. Dimensions. What's a negative opinion about dimensions? Well, Martin Luther King spoke of 3 dimensions in his sermon. The 3 dimensions of a complete life. On April 9th, 1967. He said that there was length, breadth, and the width, paraphrasing Revelation chapter 27. A more positive idea about dimensions is that there is at least, at a minimum, I'm just meaning that there are more, but at a minimum there are at least 4. Problem 10. Yeah, 3. Probably number 8. There is the physical. There is the spirit. There is the myth. And there is the emotion. There again, another set of encyclopedias. Let's go down to geography. Whew. If you go to the internet, to petersmap.com, this is where I got this information from. Could you pass that first map out one time? Yes, please. This is where Brother Barack was getting all into my lecture over the internet and Facebook. About 3 or 4 months ago, I published I reposted some information a brother had sent me concerning maps. And this is the information that I got. The map that you're looking at is called the Mercator map. It is the epitome of a negative opinion. I want you to look at the top of the map. The north, countries like the United States, Europe, Russia, all those countries up north. The north part of the map, that's everything north of the equator, is approximately 18.9 million square miles. Look at it. Look at it on the map. The south part of the map is 38.6 square miles. Twice the amount of area as the north map. Does it look like that to you? Oh, what's wrong with that? And Greenland, y'all see Greenland on the map? Appears to be about the same size as Africa. Yet the African landmass is actually 14 times larger than Greenland. And here's what they had to say. They said, quote, and I'm quoting, "This was convenient, psychologically, and practical through the eras of colonial domination, when most of the world's powers were European. It suited them to maintain an image of the world with Europe at the center and looking much larger than it really was or is." And then they asked, this is the question that they asked. You go to the website. Was this conscious or deliberate? Well, they want to say that it was not conscious and not deliberate. But based on what he already been said, how could it be anything else? And so I changed what they said around this a little bit and said instead of probably not, I said probably. As most of the map users have a Eurocentric bias inherent with the world view. When there are so many other projections to choose from, why is it today that the Mercator map projection is still such widely recognized, a widely recognized image used to represent the globe? Why? They want to say that it's simply convention or habit. You know, no, it is something. But we know everything is something. And one of the things that I did not do is I also have a copy of the Peters map. That's more like what it should really look like. Okay? Let's move on to mathematics. Pythagoras. That's a good one. Now, each one of these examples that I'm giving you, each and every one of you all can find a totally different and be correct. Both negative and positive. This is just the research that I've done. Okay? And I'm going to talk about Pythagoras. They say that Pythagoras came up with a theory or theorem, and they call it the Pythagorean or Pythagorean theorem. I think A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Let's see. The Egyptians used what they call the Pythagorean theorem, and the 3, 4, 5 right triangle was used by rope stretchers by the Egyptian engineers. Rope was knotted into 12 sections that stretched out to produce a 3, 4, 5 triangle. In ancient Egypt, mathematics was used for measuring time, straight lines, the level of the Nile flooding, calculating areas of land, counting money, working out taxes, and cooking. Math was even used in mythology. The Egyptians figured out the number of days in a year with their calendar. We tried to get as close as we possibly could to this calendar period. These work, but that's what it's all about. It's all about practical application. It's all about work. There were people, math was also used with fantastic results for building tombs, pyramids, and other architectural forms. I got this little piece of research right here from the encyclopedia on the internet, Wikipedia. It says it is the Nile Valley that we must look to for evidence of early influence on the Greek mathematics with respect to geometry. The commentators on humanity, the mathematician priests of the Nile Valley knew no fear. The geometry of Pythagoras, Eudoxus, Plato, and Euclid were learned in Nile Valley temples. 4 mathematical papyri still survive. Most importantly, the Rhine mathematical papyrus, dating to 1832 BC. A long time before 569 when Pythagoras was born. Not only do these papyri show that the priests had mastered all the processes of mathematics, including a theory of numbers, but had developed formulas, enabling them to find solutions to problems with 1 and 2 unknowns, along with think of a number problem. With all of this plus arithmetic and geometric progression that they discovered, it is evident that by 1832 BC, algebra was already in place in the Nile Valley. And incidentally, they want to say that pyramids that these were built around 3000 BC. That's a long time ago. Pythagoras was born approximately 569 BC. Long time before Pythagoras. But let's move on down. We're going to go ahead and wrap it on up with these last 2. We're not going to be real long about time. Time. A negative opinion about time is that January the 1st is the first day of a new year. The clock of God, which is in chapter 13 of the Gospel, talks in depth about a positive idea about time. If you get chapter 13, and it really gives you an in-depth discussion about time, written by Muhammad Rasul. The Rasul says that a new year begins when the earth begins, which makes sense to me. When the earth begins its journey around the sun on December 21st. That's all I'm going to say about time right now. Eternity. A negative opinion about eternity is that life is a straight line. You are born, then you die, and that's it. No, you go to heaven or hell. That's it. When in essence, life is a cycle. Eternal. Always turning, always evolving, and always evolving. If life was a straight line, there would be no opportunity for development or growth. Man must free himself from the strength of negative opinion and produce positive ideas about history, religion, society, and culture, of space, dimension, geography, mathematics, time, and eternity. Why? In order to strengthen himself in pride, honor, and self-respect. The origin of names is of vital importance to the education of the mind. Muhammad Rasul. The origins of names is all you need to understand that you are the origin of civilization. It is where knowledge and education begin. And when you understand the origin of a thing, you understand that thing. Muhammad is the key. He is above all.